Hi, welcome to the second episode of Learn RubyMotion. In this case, we are going to work with the application that we had built last time. However, we will look at the memory usage of the application. So, if you remember last time in the first episode, we have code something like this, where when in the method, when we have to return the cell for row at index path, we create a cell which is a UI table cell, and then we assign the value from the data to the cell text label, and that's how we get the programming language name in the table. However, notice that UI table cell call UI table view cell dot alloc dot init with style. So in this case, there is going to be certain amount of memory allocation. Now, managing memory is time consuming. The memory needs to be allocated. Then, depending on the situation, memory needs to be deallocated, and all those things could be a little bit taxing to the CPU. So here I'm just trying to track how many cells are being created. So every single time a cell is created, I increase the counter and then I display the counter. So when the application started with rake, we can see here we already have 1 to 12 values for all these 11 rows. And now as I scroll up and down, you can see the number here that is changing, and it's always going up, which means that as we scroll up and down, more and more table cells are being created and memory is being allocated and memory is getting deallocated. In the simulator, I cannot really show you the slowness of the application, but if you are using this application in a real device, which is creating a lot of these table cells, and then the memory is being deallocated, then you can feel that the application is a bit sluggish. So that's not a good thing. We should try to build an application which is memory efficient. So now let's look at the code. So what can we do to improve the situation? And one way to improve the situation is to cache the UI table cell that's already being created, and that's exactly what we will do in this new code. So I'm commenting out the old code, and the new code, what we are doing is that if you see compared to last time, we are still creating the cell, but we are passing something for reuse identifier. So iOS provides this feature by which we, while creating the table view cell, we can pass a reuse identifier, and the table view will, after creating the cell, it will put that cell in a common pool area, and later when we want to get that cell from the pool, it will give us back that cell. So in this way, it will not try to create too many cells. And the reason why it doesn't have to create those many cells is because at any point of time, we are displaying around 12 cells. So there is no need to create. If we have 1000 records, then there is no need to create 1000 cells, because at any point of time we are displaying only 12 cells. So for the first 12 cells that are being created, we will cache that cell, and later when we move up and down, then the cell which is going out of window from the top will go back to this pool, and we will get new cells from the pool. So in this way, we will not be constantly allocating and deallocating the memory. So let's look at the code here. We are using a reuse identifier, and right now I'm calling cell identifier, and I can get away with anything. But the point here is that the pool where all the values are kept, that is a common pool. So let's say my program is using two different tables. Then I need to be able to distinguish between the cell which is for table 1 versus the cell which is for table 2. So both of these tables should use a different reuse identifier. In this case, I kind of not following the right path, and I have put in something which is very generic, but I should have put in something like language controller cell, so that if another controller is creating a table, then that controller will have a different reuse identifier key. And after that, I'm trying to get the value from the pool, and that's what this such a long method name is. DQ reusable cell with identifier and the argument, and in return we get the cell. If the value that we have gotten, the cell that we have gotten is not nil, then run with the cell, use that cell. This is a cache cell, which is a good thing. We didn't have to create another one. However, if the cell is nil, then we need to create the cell, but at this time we will pass a reuse identifier, and we will increase the counter. We need to increase the counter number to keep track of how many new cells are being created. And otherwise the code is same. Here we are displaying the number of cells created so far. So let's run this code. I will exit out of that and running rake, and this time we get a list of programming languages, and by default we get the value from 1 to 12. Now if I go up and down, see it went up to 13, 14, but now no matter how much I do up and down, the number is still 14. So it means that it is not creating more number of cells. Only 14 cells were created, and now my table can have thousands of records, but only 14 cells which were created earlier, they will be constantly reused, and in this way this application is handling memory in a much better way. That's the end of this application. Once again, the code is available at this repository, and you should send your feedback to Big Binary. Thank you very much.